Well, I don't know what he's up to. He's picking me like chicken, shucking me like corn, stewing me like an ice.
I don't do sit-ups. I don't do chin-ups. I don't do nothing but get up through them guts with my Johnson, bro. The hell is you talking about, bitch? Anybody, I'll let all y'all know. My exercise is up to them thighs, bro. Believe that, bro. It's all about.
Oh, thank you, Roger, sir. Here we go.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Lone Gunman podcast. This is episode number 322. Everyone, everywhere, all at once. Yes, a play on the great movie title, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. As we revealed in our Wednesday show, we're going to be talking about Captain Westbrook, Lieutenant Gerald Hill, and some of their antics that took place on November 22nd, 1963. Because they are a little sus, these are actually two members of the Dallas Police Department, excuse me, who happened to be at all three crime scenes. Yet they did not travel together, which is interesting.
Allegedly,
yes. But we'll get there, I promise. But before we do, Joe, I want to dip on over to the other side so we can welcome in some of our ever faithful and lovely listeners. Tiny Dancer is in the house. Trey is in the house. What's up,
Tiny Trey?
James is in the house. Paula Jane. Hi, Paula.
Paula.
Alpha 66. Mike, what's up, buddy? Jack is here for the first time in a couple weeks. Welcome back, sir.
Yes, glad to hear the boss let up on you a little bit.
Yeah, Big Scott's in there. Hello, Scott.
Great Scott.
Bungold is in the house. What's up, Bungold?
Bungold.
And yeah, Mike, we do know where Triple B and Joey Scars are.
Yes.
We're here, baby. We're here.
We are on your screen, ready to drop some fire.
Sally is in the house from across the pond, but she moved. She dipped.
Wait. She moved from where?
I thought she moved from England to Northern Ireland, I believe.
So that would be maybe an hour closer to us?
I think it's
or same time zone.
Probably.
All right. Well, Sally is staying up late nonetheless. So
yeah, somewhere I'd like to visit before I die. Definitely Ireland. It's beautiful there.
It is Scotland and I mean that whole area. Yes.
Scotland.
I mean, Ireland is an island, of course, but yes.
Chris is in the house. Chris Burton. Hello, sir.
Thank you, sir. Hello. Good evening.
God bless you as well. Colleen, the Rocket Queen, is here. Always a pleasure to have Colleen back.
Yeah.
So that's about it for the folks that is here for right now. I'm sure many more will join us as we get along. So, Joe, how was your week, my friend?
It was okay. We got our first snow here today in the Northeast, which is always interesting. Thankfully, I got new tires like 2 months ago, and was really icy and kind of terrible. I had to run a couple errands, but other
You
than
still have
that,
one headlight.
well, no comment on the status of that. I was just uh, grateful that it was light enough that I didn't have to put my headlights on for these errands, which I conveniently ran in the middle of the day because of such.
Nice.
But yeah, no, all is good. In the hood in the Northeast. How about you, sir?
Yes, Sally. Definitely. It's on the bucket list, that's for sure. Yeah, we know Colleen. Glad you're here. That means you're doing somewhat well. So that is always good news for us.
Yes,
Welcome back. We miss you when you're not here, for sure.
for sure.
All right, let's move the chat overlay back out of here. So,
And by the way, nice Christmas background you have here, Rob.
well,
Miss-
tis the season, Joe, and all.
Tis the season, and it's very festive. I like it, and I think next Friday will be, uh, I guess, 2 days after Christmas. But
And apparently, we still don't know what we're going to do next Wednesday for the members only show. We are going to do one. It's either going to be Wednesday night like normal, or it shall be earlier in the week, like
right,
maybe Monday or Tuesday. But we will do a post and let everybody know.
for sure.
For Shizzy.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. First up, I came across an interesting document that pertains to the last show that we did, right? When
Okay.
Paul Abbott was here, and we were
Yeah.
talking about Ruby shooting Oswald in the basement, right? So I was always curious, and I came across this article, and I don't know for the life of me who in the hell wrote it. It might have been Ian Griggs from DPUK, who sadly has passed on, but
Oh, wow.
I believe this is an old Dealer Plaza Echo article. But he goes in depth about the search of Ruby's person immediately after the shooting. So he says, within seconds of Oswald's shooting, Ruby had been hustled away to the jail office and searched, which was standard police procedure and fulfilled three basic purposes. Firstly, to take possession of anything that may be of evidential value. Secondly, to seize anything which, with the prisoner, may cause injury or damage to himself or others.
Right.
And
If
thirdly,
you had another weapon, right.
yeah. And thirdly, to take from him anything with which he may harm himself. Yes.
Also another weapon.
Yes. Apparently, Ruby, according to the official record of Billie G. King, no relation to Billie Jean King, the tennis player, but Billie G. King, who was the assistant jailer, Ruby had been searched by Kenneth Hoke, a jailer at Dallas City Police Department on November 24th on the fourth floor of the Dallas City Police Department, which houses the jail. Okay. Now we know Ruby had some money on him, right? But we don't know. We didn't really get into how much. We
Mhm.
speculated, right? But when the property found on Ruby's person was listed, it consisted of 34 items, dude, that he had on his person. 34. Many of these items, however, consisted of more than just one single object. Okay, so this dude was weighted down with shit in his pockets, okay? Let's see here. He did have listed a large roll of money mentioned by Detective Archer, and that was an accurate description. It was exactly that. It amounted to cash in the form of 9 $100 bills, 40 $20 bills, 30 $10 bills, 2 $5 bills, and $4 bills for a whopping grand total of $2,014 in his pocket at the time he shot Oswald. That's what we thought too, Bungle, but it's more. It's much more, much more. So he had $2,000 cash in his pocket, roughly, at the time he was arrested, right? Which equals out to today money like 20 grand. Who the fuck walks around with 20 grand in their pocket unless you're balling? You know what I'm saying? Like, straight balling. I don't know.
Not me.
You know, and I'm fairly certain that, you know, that's like not. I mean, that's way more than like one night's take at the fucking carousel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he wasn't like on his way to make a deposit, especially on a Sunday, right?
No, that seems to me way more. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
do you know how rare a $100 bill was in 1963?
I'm guessing pretty rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and probably just as rare today as, like, you know, getting $1,000 bill, which they did make, right?
Yeah.
But you never see them. This dude had 9 of them in his pocket. 9 $100 bills in 1963. People were not visiting the Carousel Club and dropping $100 bills, you know, unless they're straight banging, you know, like the entire staff. I digress. Several of Ruby's items of personal jewelry confirmed his determination to maintain a, quote, classy image, Joe. There was a ring with 3 diamonds, a 14-karat gold and diamond LeCoultre wristwatch. Wristwatch. There's another Liberty Loudy word. Wristwatch. His necktie was described as 100% silk, Joe. And he had 2 tie clasps, 1 silver and 1 gold. He also had normal items on his person, such as a comb, several pens, some keys, a pair of spectacles, much like these right here. Let's see, what else did he have? Ruby's pockets appear to have been crammed with a great variety of business cards, receipts, photographs, letters, and assorted papers. One of the most important, of course, was listed as follows: a Western Union telegram, date stamped 11:16 a.m. at November 24, 63, addressed to Karen Bennett, Western Union, Fort Worth, for $25 from Jack Ruby, 1313 and a half Commerce Street. Yes, that is how it appeared, including the time error. The telegram had actually been dispatched at 11:17 a.m., and the Carousel Club address was wrong for some reason. All right, so that is how much he had on his person. Okay. Now, they did search Ruby's car, and I asked the question last week, where did Ruby park his car? And Paul said it was across the street, which to me intimated that it was parked right on the street, right across, you know, from like the basement entrance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way he made it sound. But according to this document, right, at the time of this incident, Jack Ruby owned and drove a 1960 Oldsmobile, 2-door, white in color, bearing the 1963 Texas license of PD 678. According to the Dallas FBI office, a search of Ruby's Oldsmobile, which he had left in a parking lot on the northwest corner of Main and Pearl Streets, was carried out by Detective Richard Swain Jr. and other detectives. The problem here is that there was no such person on the strength of the Dallas Police Department. The only Richard Swain was a lieutenant in the Burglary and Theft Bureau, and his duties on November 24th are clearly described in his official report to Chief Curry, dated the 4th of December, and they do not include searching Ruby's car. Okay. In the testimony of Lieutenant Vernon Smart of the Auto Theft Bureau, however, he is mentioned as being present at that search. So there's a little discrepancy there. Okay. And then it goes on to state a little further down. Okay. The initial stages of the attempted search did not proceed smoothly of Jack Ruby's car, and the Warren Commission testimony of 2 car park attendants, one John Daniels and one Theodore Jackson, makes amusing reading as they describe how they watched the actions of the police during the search of the car. It then says that Ruby had parked his car in the Allstate parking lot. Okay. Situated on the northeastern corner of Main and Pearl, directly opposite the Western Union office. So from my memory, Joe, I believe the Western Union office was like diagonally catty corner from the entrance to the basement, over on the other corner. So if this parking lot was across from the Western Union, I'm guessing it would have been over this way a little bit. I mean, it's still kind of close by the basement, but definitely not on the street. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
It wasn't parked right on the street,
Right.
to where he could have pulled up and then dipped in there quickly somehow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wherever he parked in this parking lot, he had to walk, not a huge distance, but,
a block or two, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, something like that, at least, yeah. So let's see. They said there was no parking attendant there when he parked his car on the lot a little after 11 a.m. As we shall see, he removed his keys from the ignition, but he did not lock the car. He left Sheba on the front seat of the car. He did, however, remove his revolver from its usual place in the trunk of the car and take it with him. According to Larry Crayford, one of Ruby's Carousel Club employees, Ruby always kept his revolver in a money sack in the trunk of the car. Okay, so then we slide on over to the trunk of Ruby's car. Let's see. So this was a kind of like a weird situation. Okay. So Lieutenant Smart, the guy who was in charge of the burglary and theft division who actually searched Ruby's car, said that he began his search of the car by opening the glove compartment. But Ruby had mentioned that he kept a key to the trunk in the glove compartment.
Yep.
So the glove compartment itself contained Ruby's wallet. Okay, so Ruby did not have his wallet on him. He had a thick roll of cash in his pocket, some business cards, and the trunk key. The wallet, described as a billfold, contained Ruby's driver's license and several cards of ID, but no cash. Underneath the wallet, Lieutenant Smart found a single General Motors key. After trying it in the ignition switch and finding it did not fit, he rightfully assumed it would fit the trunk, and he proceeded to search the trunk before continuing to the interior of the car. Okay. So they asked him, Burt Griffin, when he was, they asked Lieutenant Smart during his Warren Commission testimony, they said, well, what did you see when you opened that trunk? And he replied, well, some paper bags and some bank sacks, and just full of junk, except there was a set of keys laying right down in the open. Our Mr. Ruby does not appear to have been the world's tidiest man. One of the keys on the key ring found did fit the car's ignition. Lieutenant Smart also found, quote, the money, and he took possession of it as instructed. Okay. Leaving the vehicle where it was, he returned to City Hall and handed over the wallet, the keys, and the money. So he goes into the glove compartment to find a key to the trunk, and in the trunk he finds the keys to the car. Okay?
Yep.
And apparently found more money in the car. Not just the equivalent of 20 grand in Ruby's pocket when he was arrested.
Mm.
Okay. So he had thrown everything inside a large grocery bag that he had also found in the trunk of the car. And he counted the money out and initialed it. It was found that the money in the trunk amounted to $873.50, including approximately $73 in silver and $400 in $5 bills. That's like $85 bills. Very weird combinations of money here. So basically, Ruby had on him in total approximately $2,900 in cash and silver, which would equal in today's money $29,000 or $30,000,
Yeah.
which is a lot of money.
Yeah, especially when you think, I think Ruby was kind of aware that whatever he was told to do was going to be some type of suicide mission, right? So, we've talked about the safe in his in the carousel club and other things and money he had in there, but that seems like an awful amount of money to leave to the authorities. Really, is what you're doing.
Yeah, and he was specifically sent out there because when they were questioning Ruby and searching him, he specifically told them to go to the car to get his dog, get the money and his car keys, and bring everything back to the station. He was worried about his dog. He was worried about his money. And apparently he left his car keys in the trunk in his haste to get to the basement.
Yeah, he left the car doors unlocked, but put the key to the trunk, or put the keys in the trunk and the key to the trunk in the glove compartment. It's
Yes, poor Sheba was found hiding underneath of a newspaper on the front seat. Okay.
under a newspaper in the front seat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also found in the trunk were 59 numbered permanent passes to the Carousel Club for a great variety of people, including Dallas District Attorney Bill Alexander, Andy Anderson, manager of the Adolphus Hotel, Dallas Police Patrolman Ray Hawkins, and several local media people, press and radio, and some more local businessmen. They also found a pistol holster that they described as musty and moldy for a snub-nosed revolver. They also found a set of aluminum knuckles.
Is that like brass knuckles from the 60s?
Yeah.
Or just a different. Okay.
Yeah. They found three different pairs. They found what they described as a set of aluminum knuckles and a set of used aluminum knuckles and a bank zipper bag containing a brand new set of aluminum knuckles.
Well, how do you tell if a pair of aluminum knuckles is used?
They might have a little blood on them, little, flesh, blood.
Okay. Fair enough.
Scratches, dents, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But he had a brand new pair that was in a bank zipper bag, also in the trunk. A Victor adding machine, and also several crutch or chair leg rubber tips. Yeah. There's a mystery for you, Tiny Dancer. Also found was one dog muzzle, one umbrella, one radio, one partially filled can of varnish stain, one pair of long white ladies' gloves, Joe, one black plastic raincoat, one paper for sale sign, one white bathing cap, one pair of brown golf shoes, size 10.5, one phonographic record entitled Figure Control for Women, one carton containing several hundred 8x10 glossy photographs of exotic dancer Jada, and one twist waist exerciser. There was also several assorted items of gentlemen's clothing, including underwear, slacks, sports jackets, and two-piece suits. In keeping with Ruby's use of the trunk of his car as his office, numerous bills, papers, documents, stationery, business cards, accounts, receipts, slips of paper bearing phone numbers, bank drafts, telephone bills, newspaper clippings, stamps, envelopes, AGVA contracts, parking tickets were also found. He even had Carousel Club certificate of occupancy and his Texas Liquor Control Board permit in there. The final part of the car to be searched appears to have been the ashtray. This was found to contain, quote, 12 cigarette butts, some filter tip, others not. Some bearing lipstick traces, others not. Only brand names readable on there was Winston. Who was responsible for the lipstick traces, I wonder, Joe?
I do not know.
George Senator. Surely I jest. Okay, so that's it. I just wanted to kick off the show and tie up a little loose ends because I found, a legit inventory of Jack Ruby's shit. So basically, almost 30 grand on his person, which is crazy.
Yeah, especially when you consider the amount of debt he was allegedly in.
Yes, possibly using those rubber tips as who knows. Use your imaginations, you dirty-minded people. And yes, for the newer folks, locals did not work very well for us. Due to our size, we had big ambitions, but there are restrictions on certain things, such as live shows, and various other things. Based off of your membership numbers, and for us to grow over there, it would have been substantially harder than to just do what we do here. And everything's here already anyway. The locals thing will be up for the people that paid for it, and I would just tell everybody, hey, cancel your shit over there and just come over here and join the membership show, because we had a banger this past Wednesday, didn't we, Joe?
We always do.
Yes. We gave the people their money's worth. It was almost a 2-hour show. And we went into all kinds of stuff that, we just don't have time to or the inclination to talk about here on Friday nights.
Yeah. And we always say, like, okay, we're going to keep this members only to like half an hour, maybe 1 hour. And then
boom, 2 hours in, it is what it is.
Yeah. And I think there was a comment. I think it was from Paula. Hold on. Chris said this might be an alias of some guy, but I look like a member of the Beastie Boys. Okay. But
which was the dead one?
I don't know.
Mike D or King Ed Rock?
That beats me here. And Paula was asking, I think she was asking why she couldn't view the members only. I believe, Paula, you are of the spook level. And for our members only, we have instead of the $5 one, the 10, and the top tier level for members only. But I think we're doing like
and you
one.
can just upgrade your membership. I think Sally did. So if you're already a spook, you can upgrade to a covert operator for $5 more a month, I believe. And you'll have access to everything that we've already done, plus all the new stuff as well.
Yes. And I think Tiny just explained it very well there. So,
and Joe, still, hold on, where to go? Still the best title for an episode ever. George Senator Power bottom.
It's up there.
And a hell of an episode too. Let me tell you, that was a fun one.
Yeah, it is up there. It's a funny episode for sure.
Damn right.
And Chris also said I look like I'm in my partner's bedroom. Close. Basement. Close. So. All right. Well, thank you for that, sir.
Let's get into some William Pinky Westbrook, if you will. Lots of
Mr.
people nicknamed Pinky, man. Like, what the hell is going on with that? I mean, is that what you're working with, or?
I mean, very possibly. I think it was his name due to his like complexion, like his pink complexion. Is
Was
what
he an albino?
No, you know, like some of those people that like, I don't want to say the wrong thing, like that just get like really red or pink in the face sometimes. Maybe you're in the sun.
It had a little rosacea.
Yeah. I think that's what it was referring to, but that's only allegedly what I read. So, but yes, Mr. Westbrook, Captain William Roy Westbrook, and he's a very sus character in the DPD, and I'm not sure if he's number one for me, Rob, but I think he has to be top 3 for sure. And a lot of people have done a lot of great research on him, of course.
This is what he looked like for people who don't know. He's on the left. Giant forehead. His nickname was not only Pinky, it was also 5-head. He had so much forehead. It was more than a forehead. It was a 5-head. I couldn't even cover that thing up, Joe.
Yes, sir. I have a couple more as well. And he was born in November of 1917, died in 1996. And he worked for the DPD for about 25 years, which is a long time, of course, to work for the DPD. He was so he was part of like the personnel bureau, and hold on, let me bring this up real quick. So he was the captain of the personnel bureau, and his task was not really of a detective; it was more of administrative. And
real quick, Joe, hold on.
Sure.
I saw a great comment here from James.
We love great comments.
For $1 Bitcoin monthly, you can be in the Minutemen Splinter group that we're going to form. That's right. I tell you what, you donate a Bitcoin per month, I'll personally storm the Capitol. Okay? I promise you.
Yeah. What is a Bitcoin now? Like
100,000?
100 grand? Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
I'll storm the Capitol naked for $100,000 a month.
Yeah.
Just a baby Crockett hat on.
Definitely nothing to sneeze at for sure.
Trey, continue. Sorry.
It's okay. No, we love a good comment here, and
yay! Paula's now a covert operator. She upgraded. Yay! Thank you, Paula.
Paula, you are the best, and also my designated driver.
Yes, you have access to 10 other shows now that we've done since we started this.
Yeah, I think we have 8, but I missed one famously last week. But
I still did it by myself, so it's still
yes. And
me and Tiny. That was just me and Tiny. That's it.
And that's all you need, really, is Tiny, because she crushes it. And
Guest co-host for the evening, Tiny Dancer.
Deep State Tiny, we love you.
Brad still do it for 90,000. It's okay.
Yeah, a little bit of a discount. So, of course, a lot of things have been written and talked about Captain William Westbrook, most famously his being a personnel officer and being kind of an indoor, not on the street guy, was everywhere in the during the events of the afternoon of November 22nd, 1963, from the TSBD to the Tippit shooting to the Texas Theater, and even until Sunday morning in the basement of the Dallas police station, where, of course, Lee Harvey Oswald was famously murdered on live TV by Jack Ruby. And, very, very sus things going on with him. But let me read a couple more things here. And then we will go into his movements and his Warren Commission testimony. So it's funny you mentioned, Rob, Ian Griggs, because he did a lot of research on the DPD and Westbrook. And this is what he has to say here. According to British policeman and JFK, a researcher, Ian Griggs, Westbrook worked as the personnel, as it was described as working in the DPD personnel department. And this was actually a tiny bureau just down the hall from the homicide offices, and was under command of the ubiquitous Captain William Roy Westbrook. He had under his control one sergeant, and I'll get into him in a little bit, 2 detectives, 1 patrolman, and 3 female civilian clerical workers. He described the work of the Bureau as background investigations of applicants and the investigation of personal complaints. I feel that most readers will be familiar with my widely published paper, Just Another Day at the Office. We're going to read a couple things from that as well. At the time of the JFK assassination, Westbrook was the captain of the Personnel Bureau in the DPD Training and Research Section. And he heard about the assassination when he was at the DPD headquarters. And we're going to get into this in a second, but said because there were no cars, he had to walk to the TSBD. And all right, so let's get into that now and start some of his work.
Before you start getting into that,
yep.
Randy asked, why you call it the Lone Gunman Podcast when it's all about conspiracy? Well, real quick for you. When I started doing the show 10 years ago, it was just me and a microphone. So the title is somewhat ironic because, of course, the lone gunman is a theory perpetrated by lone nutters, right? So I thought it wasn't just me being stupid with an ironic title. And now it's even more stupid and ironic considering there's 2 hosts to the Lone Gunman Podcast. That is all. It doesn't get any more deep than that. But thank you for your question, sir.
Yeah. But, I love the name because, we've talked about possible lone gunmen, say like Thomas Crooks or the other guy, Rourke, whatever, the second guy in Florida, or the guy in the United Healthcare CEO killing. and were they lone gunmen or were they not? So it's a very relevant title.
It's the one technicality we can use to branch off from the JFK conspiracy and still be technically talking about lone gunmen.
And shadow banned at the same time.
Yeah, but we don't pull that card much. We don't really stray too much off topic.
No. So we know Westbrook was not only at the Tippit scene, and I have a good video that was sent by a friend of the show that we'll shout out with shortly about that. I'm sorry? What happened?
Randy says, wrong. The lone gunman theory is a fact, not a theory, in my opinion. So Randy must be a lone nutter. Well, Randy, if you keep listening to this show, we're going to change your mind. Just all we ask is that you have an open mind.
Yep.
That's some of the things we discuss. That's all. And sometimes we do have real life lone nutters on the show. Lone nutters love me. I'm friends with a lot of them. And you might be the next one. So just hang in there with us, Randy, okay?
Yeah. We love lone nutters and anyone that has an open mind and kind of open to hearing more context about this topic that we all share interest in. So let's start, sir, with the Warren Commission testimony of Captain William Roy Westbrook.
All right, you can cut out the William and the Roy. Just call him Captain Westbrook from now on.
Yes, Captain Westbrook.
Cut out
Yes.
5 minutes of
Yes.
the show. Damn.
Yeah. Yes. Like that actually makes it easier for me, sir.
Ah.
So one of the first questions, Mr. Joseph Ball is interrogating Westbrook, and this actually happened in Dallas. They didn't bring him to DC, but he was an ununiformed officer on that day and most days, actually. So if you see a picture of a DPD officer in uniform, it's not Westbrook. And Westbrook says, "No, I was not in uniform." Mr. Ball, where were you when you heard the president had been shot? Captain Westbrook, I was in my office, and Mrs. Kinney, one of the dispatchers, came into the office and told us, of course, it was the same as everyone says. We didn't believe it until a second look at her, and I realized it was so. There was a little confusion because everyone became rather excited right quick. Yeah, I bet. But somebody, I don't know who it was, came into my office and said they needed some more men at the TSBD. But he didn't go to the TSBD immediately. He said he sat around for a while. He doesn't specify how long, not knowing what to do because of almost all of the commanding officers and supervisors were out of this city hall, and I finally couldn't stand it any longer, Westbrook says. So we started the TSBD. And believe it or not, and that is up to you, ladies and gentlemen, he walked to the TSBD, which is about a 20-minute walk. It's a little more than a mile. But we will hear later someone said that he actually, a sergeant under his control, actually said that he was driven there with Westbrook. So this is a major point of contention and definitely not one that I have discovered.
Why, we don't know, but it must be about timing for some reason. I don't know why, but
yeah. So that's the thing, Rob. Like, why would you lie about that? It doesn't seem irrelevant.
Yeah. That's one thing you wouldn't forget. And why would you lie about it?
Right. Unless you were doing something else at the time and you needed to cover
whatever you were doing and
for that 20
minutes walking, a little bit.
I mean, that's the only thing that really makes sense, but that is of course speculation. Westbrook continues, there wasn't a car available, so I walked from City Hall to the TSBD. and I would stop on the way down where there would be a group of people listening to someone's transistor radio, and I would stop and catch a few false reports, you might say, at that time, until I reached the building. So he's kind of saying that as he was walking down, he was stopping and like huddling with other people on the street that were listening to a radio, or famously like in the JFK movie where they were like looking at the live broadcast for information. But why would a DPD captain have to do that? Really doesn't make sense.
He must have forgot his radio, Joe.
Well, he wasn't. He was definitely an administrative type. So, but that would
If Jack
seem.
Ruby can carry all that shit in his suit pockets, Westbrook could have carried a radio. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. So Westbrook continues. He contacted his sergeant, Sergeant R.D. Stringer, and was standing in front, and then went into the building to help start the search. He was talking about the TSBD. And Westbrook was on the first floor. He had walked down an aisle and opened a door onto an outside loading dock. I'm sorry. And when I came out of this dock, one of the men hollered and said there had been an officer killed in Oak Cliff. Of course, they are referring to J.D. Tippit.
Yes.
Westbrook continues. Well, then, of course, I ran to my radio. So maybe he did
Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
So if he had a radio, he had to hear the police chatter about everything that was going on. So why would he need to stop along the way and over listen to news reports? Makes no sense whatsoever. But continue, sir.
Yeah, and why would he could say, like, I listened to an officer's radio, but he said my
It's
radio.
my radio.
So
Like
that
he set it down somewhere and then went back to it, or he left it in the car that he went there in and went back to it.
yeah.
Which makes more sense.
It's very sus wording here, and he might have unintentionally contradicted himself. But
you think?
I think so. Yes, sir. Well, of course, I ran to my radio because I am the personnel officer. And then that became, of course, my greatest interest right at the time.
Yeah, fuck the president. We got an officer down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and many people have theorized that the Tippit shooting was to kind of get a lot of the Dallas police officers hyped up, upset, right? Like motivated. Because we've heard a lot of, I think it was Lavelle that said this, that the DPD, a lot of the officers were more upset about the Tippit murder than they were about the murder of the president.
Yeah.
So,
brother down.
Yeah. And so Sergeant Stringer and I and some patrolman, I don't recall his name, then drove to the immediate vicinity of where Officer Tippit had been shot and killed. Of course, the body was already gone. The squad car was still there, and on one occasion, as we were approaching the squad car, a call came over the radio that a suspicious person had been sighted running into the public library at Marsalis and Jefferson. So we immediately went to that location, and it was a false kind of report. And it was just one of the employees of the library who had heard the news somewhere in the radio and was running to tell the other group about Kennedy.
Okay.
Yeah. So we returned to the scene, and here is where I met FBI agent Bob Barrett.
So they went to the
And
tippet scene. They left there and went to the library, and then they came back to the tippet scene.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. And yeah, he
10-4.
met his subordinate, Sergeant Stringer, and FBI agent Barrett, and they were all together. And then an eyewitness to the shooting of the officer from across the street, a lady, came to the car. A lady, and she was telling us how this happened.
Helen Markham. Hello, lady.
Was it? Well, we will see. Was your car parked at the time? It wasn't my car. We didn't have one. I don't know where this officer went after he let us out at the scene. So he's saying he doesn't know who drove him
Initially, because they had to call a ride to the library and then back, and then they were dropped off again at the tippet scene, and then that officer left.
I think he's saying the officer that drove him from the church back to the tippet scene, he does not know who he is, but
Right.
he's very vague. I'm sorry?
The library, not the church.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the library. Thank you, sir. But he's very vague in all of this. Like, you're not going to find specific details in his testimony of who was where, and even who was with him during when he heard about Kennedy for the first time. And let's see. An officer drove us to the scene. Mr. Westbrook says, "Were you when this lady came up to you who was an eyewitness?" Mr. Ball asks Westbrook. "We were at the squad car, Tippett's squad car. It had never been moved." Mr. Ball, "You were near 10th and Patton." Westbrook, "And she was telling us what had occurred." "Do you remember her name?" "No. The other officers got it." "Was it a Mrs. Markham?" "It could have been, sir. I don't recall," Westbrook says, "because I directed someone there to be sure and get her name for the report, but she lived directly across the street. And she told us, or was in the process of telling us, how it occurred, what she had seen. When someone hollered, a patrolman hollered. Quote, it just came over the radio that they got it then came over the radio that they've got a suspicious person at the Texas theater." So, of course, Westbrook, similar to Croy, who doesn't know where he got, who handed him the wallet, right? Some random witness.
Alleged wallet.
Right. Westbrook also did not get that witness's name. And I guess his excuse here is because he thought the other people did. And it could have been Markham. I don't know.
And since we're here and we're talking about the wallet, Joe, I just wanted to quickly interject something really quick.
Yeah. And I got the video after if you want.
Okay. Yeah. When we're talking about the wallet, I came across something that somebody talked about. And nobody ever actually claimed that Oswald's wallet was found at the Tippit murder scene until FBI agent James Hosty published his book, Assignment Oswald, in 1996. While writing the book, Hosty collaborated with fellow former FBI agent Bob Barrett, who we know was with Westbrook. Barrett and Barrett alone claimed to Hosty that he thought he recalled DPD Captain Westbrook rummaging through a wallet at the Tippit murder scene while asking Barrett if he knew anything about an Oswald or a Heidel.
Yeah.
Okay. Hosty speculated that Westbrook probably gave this wallet to officers at the Dallas theater when everyone converged on the scene to arrest Oswald. Hosty undoubtedly did not want to openly refute or dispute the matter with his old friend Barrett and gave him too much benefit of the doubt. Barrett admitted to Hosty that he did not see any of the contents of this so-called wallet at the crime scene, and because he thought he remembered discussing an Oswald or a Heidel at the Tippit scene, he assumed that the wallet Westbrook was rummaging through had to have been Oswald's. Here's where the speculation falls to pieces, though. Captain Westbrook passed away in 1996. and Hosty did not consult Westbrook at all on this matter for his book that came out in 1994. So if Captain Westbrook was indeed in possession of an Oswald wallet at the Tippit murder scene, he'd know full well that it would be absolutely crucial to the investigation that he document the finding of Oswald's wallet at the scene of a murder. It would be the piece of evidence that broke the case wide open for them. It would be a focal point of police interrogation of Oswald. Example, Lee, why did we find your wallet next to a murdered police officer? So let's go a little further. Westbrook never ever put any such thing in a report anywhere that week or ever. And if Westbrook was in on a plot to frame Oswald, don't you think he would have made a certain to point out the discovery of that wallet at the crime scene? The planting of a wallet with Oswald's real and fake IDs would have been absolutely paramount of importance. Wouldn't Westbrook be on the horn with police headquarters describing the suspect based on the discovery of these IDs? Wouldn't he be making it obvious that the killer left his wallet behind if planting or discovering the wallet was his role? The most likely scenario here is that Agent Bob Barrett, decades after the fact, misremembered the setting and sequencing of certain events and speculated erroneously that Oswald's wallet was found by Westbrook because, as we know, not only was Westbrook at the Texas Theater for the arrest of Oswald, so was Bob Barrett.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, the original version was correct all along, that Oswald's wallet was removed from his pocket in the police car by the guy I'll be talking about, Gerald Hill, when he refused to give his name to multiple officers present in the vehicle. So I just wanted to throw that out there for the lone nut perspective, Joe.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right, so let us continue here. So after that, they heard on the radio they had a suspicious person in the Texas Theater, and we are continuing here with Mr. Westbrook's Warren Commission. I think this is the last slide on that. Let's see. What let me see. Westbrook says, it could have been, sir, I don't recall because I directed someone there to be sure and get her name for the report, but she lived directly across the street. He is referring still to the witness that had... Nope. Westbrook continues, then Sergeant Stringer, I, and Agent Barrett got in another squad car, and I don't know what officer was driving this one. Again. But then when we arrived and were approaching the Texas Theater, I directed the patrolman to turn down into the alley instead of going around to the front because I had figured there would be a lot of cars in the front. There were 2 or 3 at the back. I think he meant 2 or 3 cars. So I and Barrett and Sergeant Stringer went to another door. And I and Barrett, we stopped at the first one. We got out. We walked to the first entrance. This was the nearest to us. And we walked into the door. We met an employee of the Texas Theater. Again, I do not know his name, but it was taken. And he pointed... I don't think I said anything to him. I think he said to me, and he is ranting here in his Warren Commission testimony. Westbrook continues, quote, the man you are looking for now right here, Barrett and I became separated for a short minute or two. I think he was on the other side of the stage, and I'm not for sure, but this boy reported he pointed to a man. He was sitting about in the middle of the row of seats, pretty close to the back, and he said, that is the man you are looking for. So again, not a lot of context here from Mr. Westbrook. And hold on, I have something else on his warrant, or on the Texas Theater. So of course, this is reading from Ian Gregg's article. Captain Westbrook's day of action was not over. FBI Special Agent Barrett then accompanied Westbrook through the side doors into the theater, which I think means not the front. So for some reason, they know not to go through the front, and we know a lot of officers did go through the front, but for some reason they were parked in the back, and we know there are these reports of another person being taken out of the back.
Mhm.
So interesting that Westbrook decides to park in the back because he thought it would be more convenient. Again, this is an administrative.
This is not a homicide detective or a street cop.
Yeah, someone with a lot of with like street knowledge, right? Yeah, but he seems to have had a lot today, or on that day for sure.
He was a pencil pusher,
Yes,
a geek nerd, if you will.
yeah. He was definitely a facilitator for sure. And Mr. Ball asked Westbrook in his warrant commission testimony, what side of the theater were you on? Like what steps? I was facing the audience. I would be on the right side. And were you facing the screen? If you were facing the screen, Westbrook said he would have been on the left. And the man that was pointed out to you was sitting in the aisle facing the screen. At this point, Captain Westbrook resisted the obvious reply that there would have been little point in someone indicating the man had his back to the audience. Captain Westbrook then, in his warrant commission testimony, goes on to describe Oswald's arrest, of course, famously by Patrolman McDonald, right? He was the one that stuck his thumb in Oswald's alleged revolver, right?
Well, not his thumb, but the skin in between your thumb and your forefinger, that little webbing.
Oh, really? That was it?
Yeah. But that hurt like a motherfucker too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would not be fun.
Allegedly.
And let me do this. So, but actually, Rob, before I continue, I forgot to play
video.
I'm sorry?
Let's watch the video.
Yeah, we're getting it. I'm sorry.
Because Alex is in the house this evening, and he was kind enough to
yes,
relay the footage to Joseph here this evening. So thank you, Alex, for the footage.
Yes.
Without further ado, let's roll it and see if this thing is a wallet or a notebook or what the hell is it, Joe? Let's see.
Yes, and as I was searching for this super last second, I asked
Make that more
Alex,
full screen than that.
I will. I asked Alex like half an hour before the show started if he could send me this, and he did. And Alex Harris is the man. Thank you for coming through, sir. So here we go. This is a WFAA footage of a couple of things, but the Tippett scene, and this did not come out, Rob, until after Hosty, right? It wasn't really. It might have been out there. It wasn't realized until after Hosty stated that in his book, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
You're putting words.
As we go.
Okay. Shaq can maybe correct this. Those are my words, not yours.
These are the police cars pulling into the
Right.
area.
Once the report went out that this man was holed up in Oak Cliff, we all went out in the motorcade. This is the first building that he was reported in. It's an old junk shop.
That is the jacket.
Yep.
Which Captain Westbrook also conveniently found.
Allegedly.
One time or another. This is the
Doesn't know
jacket that
who
the
he
man
found.
was wearing. He discarded it as he ran down the street. An eyewitness here said that he had seen the man go into the building, and this is the rear of it. The officers converged on it once again.
Let's make a point here now. This is the film.
I pause it, Rob.
No.
What?
I just thought you were stating the obvious that you paused the video.
Oh, I was going to say, I believe the plainclothes officer on the left is Westbrook, right here.
Yes.
Okay.
Pinky.
Sorry. Yes, Mr.
in the
Reed.
brain.
Film, it is a suspect.
This is a suspect,
Right.
yes. They saw this man running in and out that answered the description
Not
of the
this
original man. No, this is an eyewitness, Jay. The man that is being interrogated here said he saw the man run down the street. Of course, everywhere we went, the crowds converged and hampered
Certainly.
operations quite a bit. This is the
So this is the Tippett murder scene. I believe the squad car is on the right. His squad car.
No,
I
that's
bel-
not his car. His car was dark color.
Okay, it could. Okay.
scene where the police officer was shot. The car that you see in the background there belonged to the police officer, and this woman said that she
Is
had
that Markham there?
That's
No.
the Babushka lady. No, sorry, wrong scene.
That's not Markham, is it?
Doesn't look like it.
No.
I remember Helen Markham looking rather lovely, and I would say that one's not. But pray continue.
Well, it could have been the other.
I mean, she's decent, but she's not like Helen Markham hot, you know?
Right. Helen Markham 63 hot. Right.
Yeah.
And remember, guys, Westbrook is not in a uniform.
seen a man answering the description of the man that was later captured, run up, stop the officer, and then shoot him. About that time, another report came in that
And
there
this
was a
might have
man
been
had
when
walked
they heard
into the Texas
Texas,
Theater further down the block
Texas
with a
Theater.
shotgun over his arm. Of course, everybody broke and ran down into the area that
Is this right here? I don't know if it's Westbrook. I don't know.
No, his forehead's not that big.
time. This gun that you see
Oh,
in
this is
the
the wallet right here. Right? Yeah.
background here in this officer's hand is the one that allegedly was used to shoot the
And
police
Alex
officer.
provided
This is the officer's billfold that was found
extremely
lying on the
clear
ground right
copy for
alongside
us.
of the
All
car.
right, pause it. Now, they just identified that as J.D. Tippett's billfold that was laying beside the car. Rewind it just a Cooney here there, Joe.
Sure.
Let's hear it again. Listen up, folks.
Hand is the one that allegedly was used to shoot the police officer. This is the officer's billfold that was found lying on the ground right alongside of the car. The crime investigators here are fingerprinting the car in hopes that they could possibly lift a print to use. Now we're inside of the Texas Theater. Of course, everything is black. The movie is going on. Police suddenly jumped this man and started to drag him out of the theater, hustled him out to the car as the crowd broke and started to maul the police officers and grab this man, trying to run with him. They shouted murder and just almost anything to try and get at this man. As you see here, the officers hustled him into the car
think
and
that's
ran
when
away
they were
just as
leaving the
fast as they
Texas
could
Theater
from this
with
Texas
Oswald,
Theater
that car.
in hopes of.
But-
At that time, another report came in that there was a man had
Just
walked
really quickly,
into the
so
Texas
this-
Theater further down the block with a shotgun over
Joe,
Is
what
this-
are you doing over there?
his
I
arm.
put
Of
it
course,
back.
everybody broke and ran down into the area at the time. This gun that you see in the background here in this officer's hand is the one that allegedly was used to shoot the police officer.
You think that's Tippett's
This is the officer's
wallet?
billfold that was found
I'm just saying what the guy said.
Okay.
lying on the
Now-
ground right alongside
Again, to
of the car. The
reiterate,
crime investigators here are
kill the video.
fingerprinting the car in hopes that they could possibly lift a
I'm sorry?
Kill the video.
Okay.
So they're saying it's Tippett's wallet, which kind of makes sense if you think about it in these terms. So not only did the police never say that they had found an Oswald wallet at the Tippett crime scene. Now, maybe they didn't because Oswald had one on him when they arrested him at the Texas Theater, and the creation of two billfolds with Oswald IDs in them would make it look like they framed him. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's why they didn't say anything. I don't know. But this is contemporaneous of, the whole scene, and they're saying it's Tippett's billfold. Now, why that makes sense, in a sense, is okay, you can imagine, Tippett gets shot, right? And the alleged murderer flees. Okay, you have all these witnesses to the Tippett shooting, right? Multiples. And there's reports that people are going over to see or to try to help him. Also using his car radio to, radio in and say, "Hey, there's an officer down," or whatever. And obviously, with his wounds, he died rather quickly, if not immediately. 2 to the body, 1 to the head. Somebody, either a witness or a stander by, may have pulled Tippett's wallet out of his pocket to identify him. Okay, just to see who he was. It could have been done by the people that came to pick him up from the funeral home, and they forgot it on the ground. It could be a number of things. If it's Tippett's wallet, if it was an Oswald wallet, then of course having 2 wallets is a problem because nobody carries 2 wallets.
Right.
So it would have looked like somebody was trying to frame him, or they had a problem of Oswald being impersonated, which leads into a whole different conspiracy rabbit hole on its own. So they just forgot that wallet, moved on with the one found on him at the Texas Theater, the Oswald and Heidel IDs in it, and all that jazz. So that's all I wanted to add to that.
I think it's plausible, honestly. I think it's very plausible. I think it could. This might not be the most conspiratorial statement, but I think that could possibly explain the different wallets. Of course, we do not know, but I have a couple more slides here, sir. And
welcome to the Joe Show, everybody.
I know, right? Let's see. Why isn't this coming up? Gonna read one thing here from Bill Simpich's work really quickly. State Secret, which you can find on maryfarrellfoundation.org. 2 Dallas police officers and a colleague should have been considered prime suspects. The planners couldn't run this operation without friends inside the Dallas office who had access to the evidence. One of them is Captain, quote, Pinky Westbrook, who was at the scene of the Tippett slaying and the Texas Theater. I have a few problems with Westbrook. He was a personnel officer in charge of internal investigations. Westbrook had access to all of the police officers' internal files. Such a person has a lot of power. Just going to stop there, Rob. Yes. So if you were another intelligence agency and you wanted to, say, put one of your guys in, infiltrate them into the DPD, how would you do it? Well, you would have to have the connect of the personnel officer. And, and when you think about people like Croy or what's the other one? The picture guy, Roscoe White. Where would you kind of put them if that was indeed what was going on? Well, you would have to have the contact of someone like a Westbrook to kind of put them in the positions where they could carry out their missions. So it makes sense. And continuing, no one has ever offered a satisfactory explanation to why Westbrook was out in the field that day, much less how he suddenly appears at the Tippett crime scene. More importantly, there is no explanation for his handling of the Oswald's wallet. He wrote no report explaining how he received the wallet from Officer Kenneth Croy, who received it from a, quote, unknown man. Westbrook goes on to become the man in charge of the arrest scene at the Texas Theater, and then the wallet at the Tippett scene that we just showed the quick video of disappeared until it reappears in Oswald's pants pocket after the capture. Supposedly found again by suspect number 2, polygraph chief Paul Bentley. But one last thing. So Westbrook worked for the DPD until 1965. So you're talking maybe 2.5 years after the DPD. And guess where he ends up, Rob?
Where?
In Vietnam, as allegedly part of Operation Phoenix. And on the extreme right here, this is allegedly a photo of Westbrook.
Chauncey Holt? I'm joking.
You never know these
Been
days.
claimed, Joe.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me, unfortunately. But the person in the middle with the hat and the white shirt is alleged to be none other than CIA paramilitary legend David Morales.
Well, there's an interesting connection, Joe.
So, if it is indeed true that Westbrook and Morales are in this photograph, I believe this is 66, you have to think, was he either...
Hang on a second, Joe. Keep this photo up there for a second.
Sure.
I want to do something real quick. Hold on. I'll do a little photo comparison.
Can I yap as you do something?
Well, hold on a second.
Okay.
All right. So the photo that I just put up is from 1963 of Westbrook. Okay. You're telling me a year and a half later. Now keep your photo up there.
Okay.
So you're telling me a year and a half later, roughly, this is supposed to be Westbrook?
63 to 66, right? I mean...
Yeah, sorry. So,
Okay.
yeah, 2.5 years later.
Yeah.
He looks like he has much more of a receding hairline in 63 than in 66. And a much more wrinkled face.
Based on the picture in the middle with the sergeant?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of that, but what if the hat that he's wearing in the middle, his hair is kind of like on the right hand side, like kind of like what's it called? Like when you put it up in the front.
I mean, if you put that hat on that dude's head on the right, at the right angle, I think it would pair up pretty well. It's possible. I wouldn't say it's conclusive, but
Right.
It's possible. I'm just playing the
Devil's advocate.
lone nut advocate.
I like it. Yeah, and we have he did go to work as part of Operation Phoenix, in the South Vietnam police, working with a lot of our police and the CIA. Of course, the USAID is a CIA cutout. So was Westbrook possibly given some type of reward for a job well done, and get this super exclusive assignment? Maybe was he part of the plot before?
Was he CIA all along, Joe?
I'm not claiming either. I'm just saying it seems that he definitely was rewarded for. And if you're in a picture with David Morales, you have to be somewhat
sus.
Yeah, somewhat sus. And Alex Harris is calling me. Should we take this live, sir?
Sure, just keep it brief.
Okay. Hey, Alex, how are you? You are live right now, FYI.
Hey, I wanted to say something about that film you showed.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Barely.
Okay. Speak a little.
There's a few main points I want to go over that you guys didn't seem to go over that kind of matter in what you're talking about it with.
Please go ahead,
That's
sir.
all Joe's fault.
Yes.
So, as you guys probably don't know, you didn't point it out. That film was taken by WFA's Ron Ryland, who happened to be there. He's the one narrating the film in the video I sent you. He's the one that identifies the wallet as Tippett's. He was, actually there.
That's a fair point.
And that film was showed around 2:30, 2:45 p.m. on the day of the assassination on WFA.
Okay. So like an hour, 15 minutes after Tippett was killed.
Yeah. Because it was shown right after Zapruder came in to do that interview.
And then they broke for that piece of film footage.
Do you have any thoughts of why? So are you of the belief that it was Tippett's wallet and not a duplicate Oswald wallet? And honestly, I'm not sure. I'm just asking.
That's the thing. They got so much wrong in the news on that day, simply because they were rushing through to get everything out. So it could be Tippett's, it could be Oswald's. I mean, it could be somebody else's, but because Ron Ryland was there and because he says it was Tippett's, I tend to agree with that.
That makes sense to me, for sure. I mean, it's plausible to me. And Alex, do you have any contacts to Jim Ewell, who was allegedly in the car with Westbrook and maybe Stringer and the unknown officer? I believe he worked for the Dallas Morning News. I found some stuff on him, but it was not conclusive. Do you have any thoughts on him and his kind of ride along with Westbrook that day?
No, I haven't heard of this guy before. What was that name again?
Jim Ewell, Ewell. I think his real name is James, but it's Jim, and he was in the car with Westbrook. I believe he jumped in the car from the TSPD to the Tippett area, and I had a couple things on him, but I've already taken up way too much time. So,
Yeah.
But maybe, yeah, I was just interested because apparently this guy from the DCM just kind of jumped in Westbrook's car, and of course he didn't know who drove him or who was driving or what officer or anything. But yeah, well,
That's interesting. I'll definitely look into that guy, see what I can find.
yeah, let's follow up on it for sure. And thank you for calling.
Yes,
Live.
Yeah.
I know our audience loves you, and we love when you add that context, and you did.
Yeah.
Thank you. I seriously
course.
appreciate it. And of course, thank you for sending me that video. So
Thank you.
talk
Take
to
it
you
easy,
soon,
buddy.
buddy.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
CJ,
All right.
it's almost like a real radio show.
Yeah. Right.
God damn, we got a surprise
like-
guest calling in, and
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sorry, sir. Why don't you continue? I have one slide that I might pull up later in regards to the person you were going to be speaking about.
keep it in your pants, and you can whip it out later.
That's exactly what I was
All
thinking.
right, here we go. The next donk we're talking about here is Gerald Hill. Okay, Lieutenant Gerald Hill of the Dallas Police Department. This is him leaning out one of the windows of the school book depository, exclaiming that they had found a rifle.
Yeah.
everybody. Hey, everybody. This would be Gerald Hill as well at a press conference. And he allegedly said some things there that he probably shouldn't have said. But we'll get into that, I promise. And this is interesting, Joe. So Paul Bentley is the one chomping the cigar, right with his head, right up next to Oswald, like he's trying to take a selfie with him or something.
Yeah.
And then we have Gerald Hill in the background with the hat on the right and the dark colored suit. Okay. That is Gerald Hill. All right. So we have him at the school book depository. We have him at Oswald's arrest. And he was also, at the tip murder scene. So I came across an article from the fourth decade, which is 1994, January. I don't know the article name or who wrote it, of course, because I'm an idiot. But this was somebody looking back on some conference in the early 90s that brought a lot of the reporters and news people back, right, to talk about their experiences that day. And the person writing this stated that for them that the highlight of the day was to see Gerald Hill in action. Okay. On the day of the assassination, Hill was a Dallas police sergeant. He assisted in the investigations at the Texas School Book Depository and the Tippit murder scene, and was one of the officers who apprehended Oswald at the Texas Theater. On this day, Hill had an answer for everything. On 3 occasions, he stepped up to the microphone to field challenging questions, and also adds that I found none of his answers to be particularly satisfactory. So, Gerald, and apparently Tom Aaliyah, who famously made a movie about, finding the rifle on the 6th floor, and, a lot of great interior shots of the 6th floor right at that time, the Aaliyah film. Persistent mentions that the chicken bones had actually been found on the 5th floor and not the 6th floor, which is interesting, right?
Yeah.
He says that this, of course, would suggest that evidence had been moved up to the 6th floor to give the impression of a cold-blooded killer eating his lunch while waiting for his victim. Gerald Hill explained Aaliyah's observation by revealing that the chicken bones had been found on both floors. Okay. So take that for what you will. A lot of people eating chicken back then. Apparently no watermelon found at all in the school book depository that day. I think. Okay. Moving on. I'm getting us canceled, Joe.
That might have been subtle enough to not.
Okay,
you never know.
Yeah, we'll see. So next up, we have a FBI document. It's a report from Special Agent John McHugh from the San Francisco office.
Okay.
Set forth is a verbatim transcript of an edited tape recording made November 22nd of a long-distance telephone interview between radio news director of the Sacramento radio station and Sergeant Gerald Hill of the Dallas Police Department. In this recording, Sergeant Hill described his part in the capture of Lee Harvey Oswald on November 22nd and some of Oswald's comments subsequent to his apprehension. So on June 10th, 1964, Chet Castleman, News and Public Affairs Director of the radio station KSFO, San Francisco, made available to Special Agent McHugh an edited copy of a tape recording of a 25-minute radio program entitled, quote, Death in the Morning, which was presented over radio station KSFO at 6:45 p.m. on November 22nd, 1963. Featured in the above-mentioned tape recording, according to Mr. Castleman, was a telephone interview between Bob Whitten, the radio news director of radio station KCRA in Sacramento, and Gerald Hill of the Dallas Police Department. Mr. Castleman advised that when Mr. Whitten had been formerly associated with radio station KRLD in Dallas and had contacted Sergeant Hill by long-distance call on the day of the president's assassination, securing the interview, which, after editing, was placed on the above-mentioned program and which is set forth verbatim below. Now, of course, we're not going to go through this entire 25-minute interview because that would be ludicrous.
Right.
But we will hit the highlights.
Yeah. Can I stop you, sir, and thank Sally for the super chat? Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks for all your shows. Merry Christmas, everyone. The 50-plus people joining in on us right now, talking about JFK on this Friday night. And that's what we do.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Yes.
Rock. And
Sally,
Merry Christmas to you and yours as well.
Yes. I heard Christmas in London is epic, or in England, or in London specifically.
Possibly. Too bad she's not there anymore.
Still,
I'm sure Christmas in Ireland is equally.
Yeah. I'm sure she's been to Christmas. You can let us know, Sally. But thank you again. Sorry, sir.
The first call that I got. So this is Gerald Hill right off the bat of this interview. He says, the first call that I got was that the president had been shot, and the shot had come from the schoolbook depository at Elm in Houston. They sent me down there. It's a little vague, right?
Yeah.
I started in with a couple of deputy sheriffs, and we were checking the building with, as well as a bunch of other officers, but one of those deputies and I were lucky enough to find the window where the shots were fired from, and also the 3 shells laying on the floor. And I went back down. We secured the scene to report to the inspector so he could get the crime lab and everything in there. And while I was there talking to him, a call came out that an officer had been shot. Some citizen was using the police radio. That call came out. The acting lieutenant in Oak Cliff and I were together standing there talking to the inspector, and he ordered us. Being that we had all the police in town pulled down there to Elm Street, he ordered us to leave the investigation of the president's shooting and get our asses to Oak Cliff. We did. When we got out there, the officer had already been picked up. He got a description of the suspect, or we got a description of the suspect, and started following his path of egress as best we could. We had information that he was in one of 2 houses that were vacant over on East Jefferson. So we went in over there and called for some more help to cover off the buildings and everything. We shook those down, and he wasn't in there. And when we got a report that he was in the library at Marcellus and Jefferson.
Yeah.
So he goes on to say, for those people who have heard the description of the man, or from people who had heard the description of the man, we got to the library and found out that there was another false alarm. So obviously he was with Westbrook at this point.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, for sure.
And I believe that's who he's referring to.
Yeah.
A third call came in that he had been seen entering the Texas Theater. So Bob Barrett from the FBI and I went to the theater, and everybody else outside. We started checking out the patrons in the theater. The movie was still rolling, and on the third one that McDonald started to approach, he was sitting in the 3rd row from the back in the center. Just as McDonald got to him, he jumped up and yelled, "This is it, motherfuckers! This is it!" He struck McDonald in the face and grabbed for a pistol, which he had under his shirt. McDonald yelled, and all 7 of us got into a fight and finally got him subdued and handcuffed, disarmed, and then handcuffed. We were then instructed by a captain to get him out of there and get him to Central Station as fast as we could.
Stop you up. There was only one captain there, as far as I know.
Yeah. His name is Westbrook.
That would have been, yes. Continue. Sorry.
Yes, I believe. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they asked him, "Were you the ranking officer there?" And he said, "I guess. I get there could have been another one, but I believe he was the only captain there."
Okay. Uh-oh. Hold on.
What did we do?
Nothing. That was a false alarm on my part.
Hey,
I'm
like
scrolling
the
something.
church.
I accidentally opened Spotify, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's gonna start playing music." But
Yeah, like
price
the
is
church.
converted.
Yeah, like the church false alarm that Westbrook had to investigate.
Yes, thank you, James. I, for those listening very closely, you should know when I'm embellishing and when I am not. Sometimes you got to spice up the conversation a little bit. You know what I'm saying, Joe?
Of course.
Yeah. He says, incidentally, Paul Bentley was in on it with us. Then we got him outside. I don't know whether the people in the neighborhood had just heard about the president's death or whether they had heard about blank. I'm sure they'd heard about the president's too. But there were 600 to 800 people outside the Texas Theater by the time we came out. That's a lot of effing people.
That's a lot more than I thought would have been there. You think like maybe 50, 100, 6 to 8.
Yeah,
That's like a concert crowd
right.
almost. Right?
I mean, the streets had to be filled, like crazily. But whatever. Just going by what he says here.
Mm-hmm.
The other and some more officers had to be pressed into service right quick who didn't actually have their hands on him, but forced the crowd back so we could get him in the car without anybody touching him. We brought him down and turned him and the pistol and everything over to Captain Fritz. The boy that we apprehended for shooting Tippett is an employee of the book library where the shots that killed the president were fired from. He was seen on the floor below the window where the shots were fired from 15 minutes prior to the shooting. He was a former U.S. Marine marksman. He defected to Russia in 1957. Now, this is Gerald Hill talking out of his ass on November 22nd to the media.
Yeah.
6:45 p.m. on Friday.
Yeah, that televised thing. Yeah.
So he's got a lot of his facts wrong here, but that's okay. And returned to the United States approximately a year ago with a Russian bride, I understand. He did admit in the interrogation a while ago that he was an active communist, which I doubt he did, but okay.
Marxist.
Maybe a Marxist. He has not admitted to the shooting of the president or the governor or the police officer, but a gun was found on the 6th floor where it had been hidden. I've been told, and I can't verify this either way, it was an officer. It was made in Argentina. Now, folks, we all know that a Mannlicher Carcano is made in Italy, Turin, Italy, I believe, to be specific. So, okay. Made in Argentina would make it a Mauser.
Would Mauser were Mausers made in Argentina?
It might have been an Argentine Mauser.
Interesting. Okay.
Or a German Mauser. I don't know. Who
No,
the
I
hell
don't
chat would know? So chat, what rifle was made in Argentina? Yeah. Don't tell me it was an Argentine Mannlicher Carcano.
Yeah, and there was a surplus.
Might be him talking out of his ass too. But okay.
Of course. But there was a surplus of the Carcanos because they were not really efficient, which is why they were so cheap.
Yeah, and at this time he could have still heard them calling it a Mauser as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, who knows? The man, I understand, had resorted to violence before and possibly shot another policeman somewhere else. Where did they get that fact from? I don't know. He won't admit to anything other than being a communist. Okay. He started screaming brutality as soon as we got the handcuffs on him, and when we got down here and started to frisk him, the only thing he said was, "When I told you I was a communist, I told you everything I'm going to tell you," or words to that effect. And also, "I want a lawyer and I demand my rights." With circumstances being as they are, with all the other situations together, I firmly believe that we got the man who killed the president of the United States. So then he asked him, "Jerry, did you talk to him any?" And he says, "Well, Bob, he's very arrogant, very arrogant. We offered him an opportunity on the way to the station. We told him there was going to be a large number of photographers there, and we quite naturally, automatically, everybody thinks brutality when if if you catch a cop killer, you know. So we told him that there would be photographers there, and if he wanted to hide his face, we would hold him loose enough. We were going to hold him, but he could bend over and hide his face against his chest, or just bend over where they couldn't get a clear view of him, or something like that. And this he refused to do."
Okay.
Yes.
That doesn't make sense to me, because when you think about Lee Harvey Oswald in the DPD over the weekend, definitely didn't say he was a communist, first of all, but definitely wouldn't come out and say, "I'm a communist, but I want to hide my face." It's just not consistent in terms of his behavior. You know what I mean? Like,
I
it's
think they're trying to frame it like he's proud of what he did.
right, but that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. Thank you for catching me. But he wasn't proud of what he did when he was in front of the cameras. So he's proud of what he did based on the
Yeah, he didn't
DPD.
verbally say that.
Yeah.
He didn't admit to doing anything, so he didn't really have anything to be ashamed of. If he didn't actually do anything, why are you worried about hiding your face?
Yeah, it doesn't line up, is my point here. So
yeah. He said, while he would not admit to anything, he seemed very arrogant and proud of what was happening to him. Again, of course, they're framing it like, he's this diabolical killer. He said he did not show any signs of nervousness at all. He continually made threats against the officers all the way downtown. And I rode in the car with him about the brutality and his rights, and made the statement when we started questioning him about killing the officer. He made the statement. He said, "I don't have to tell you anything." He says, "Well, Captain Fritz, the Secret Service, and the Rangers and the FBI have all questioned him, and the halls out there are alive with people, quite naturally, and they have moved him upstairs for a little while. I'm sure that later today they'll bring him back down and interrogate him some more, but they want to go out to his house and check and find his car and all that stuff, you see. If they could find any more things at the time being. I understand that this is being done quite rapidly, and some of the pieces are falling into place pretty good." Again, this is all at 6:45 p.m. on November 22nd, 1963. And of course, he says his reaction is that it's a tragedy that it ever had to happen, but at the same time, if it did happen, and if this man turns out to be the one, we'll feel that we sort of took the blot off of our face a little bit by being able to catch him ourselves so quickly. Yeah, that's a nice little perk, right?
Yeah, right. And just to follow up, Rob, our chat comes through like they always do, and there was an Argentine Mauser.
That's what I thought.
And
sure.
Yeah, thank you. Who did I just? I think. Oh, optoeconomist. Thank you, and James Smith. Argentina was licensed to manufacture the Mauser in the World War II era for its military.
Sweet.
That's why we love our chat. Thank you, guys.
Well, that's an odd fact for him to spout out there that not a lot of people would probably have known at the time. Unless they had something concrete, you think? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. All right, we'll skip that because I know you folks like the juicy bits. You always like the juicy bits. So let's see here.
Thank you, Trey. Gave me a score on the rain update. The Rangers are playing the Dallas Stars, Rob.
Oh, God. Is it hockey season again already?
I haven't mentioned it. It's been hockey season for months. Like, to spare you, I haven't mentioned it. But because someone in the chat, a member, said it, I had to acknowledge. You cannot see Rob's eyes.
Feels like hockey season just ended, and here we are again.
Rob, you'll be happy to know that the Rangers lost like 11 out of their last 13 games. So you won't have to go into the playoffs probably this year.
Hallelujah.
Yap about it. So you cannot see his eyes roll under his hat and glasses, but they are rolling.
What do I have here? Okay, that's just some other nonsensicals.
Yeah, Sally. Sally said Marxism is different to communism, and of course, we can go back to his mid-August interview where he really specifies the difference. And
yeah, he obviously doesn't like being called a communist.
Right. So why would he tell Hill that he is? That doesn't make sense. But they might have not known the difference, right? They might have considered both of them the same thing. Those, say, far right or whatever DPD officers. I don't know.
Bob is not a Raiders fan per se, but he's not a Raiders hater either. Greg. I used to be a Redskins fan growing up since they were my local team. But after they've continually sucked for 30 plus years and my poor cholesterol-filled heart couldn't take it anymore, I decided to be done with them.
Well, you have a new quarterback, like a top
It's
10.
Too late, though. It's too
Jaden
late.
Daniels.
Change the goddamn name of the team. Okay? We're done. We are done. Screw the Redskins. Screw the Commanders.
You got to be more optimistic. You have a new owner and you have a rookie quarterback that might win Rookie of the Year.
I don't technically have a team anymore.
Okay. I'm trying to help you.
I know. So on December the 5th, 1963, Sergeant, I keep calling him Lieutenant for some reason. Sergeant Gerald Hill wrote to Mr. Jesse Curry, the chief of police, a summary of his day of 2.5 weeks prior. Sir, at approximately 1:55 Friday, November 22nd, I was in the vicinity, just happened to be in the vicinity of the Texas Theater in the Oak Cliff section of Dallas, looking for the suspect in the slaying of Officer J.D. Tippett. By police radio, I received information the suspect was at the Texas Theater, and I responded to the location. On arrival, I was told that the building was covered off outside and to go inside the theater and look for the suspect. Once inside, I requested either an usher or an assistant manager to turn on as many lights as possible. Detective Paul Bentley and I, and his cigar, along with some other uniformed officers, went to the balcony of the theater. We checked to see that all the fire exits were covered and that a check of the patrons was being made. And then we started back to the lower floor to see the situation at that location. About that time, I reached the bottom of the stairs. I heard an officer yell, "I got him!" And I also heard a struggle. I ran inside the lower floor of the theater and saw several officers attempting to restrain a person. Someone yelled that a man had a pistol. And then I joined the fray of the other officers in attempting to complete the arrest. I heard someone else say that they had a gun. Officers McDonald, Hudson, Hawkins, Walker, Carroll, Lyons, Bentley, Barrett from the FBI, and I, notice he didn't say Westbrook, succeeded in subduing the suspect. And while the other officers held the suspect, Officer Ray Hawkins and I handcuffed the suspect. Captain Westbrook, instructed us to get the prisoner away from the location as soon as possible. So there you have it, Joe. Westbrook was controlling the scene inside the Texas Theater.
Yeah, and I think in his warrant commission, he said he got separated from Barrett for a second, but they were on different aisles, right? So you think about a couple different seating things, and they were in different aisles. So Westbrook was there, but interesting they don't mention him.
Well, he just did.
Well, before in the list, you know.
Yeah. Officers Walker, Lyons, Carroll, Bentley, and I flanked the man and also protected him from the front and the rear. In this formation, we moved through the lobby of the theater and out to a car parked in front of the theater. We placed the suspect in the rear seat of the car with Officer Bentley on his left and Officer Walker on his right. I sat in the center of the front seat. We call that bitch. It's the most uncomfortable place to sit in a car. As Officer Carroll started to get out of the car, he pulled a snub-nosed revolver from his belt and handed it to me. He stated that this was the suspect's gun and that he had obtained it from Officer McDonald immediately after the suspect was subdued. When the pistol was given to me, it was fully loaded, Jack, and one of the shells had a hammer mark on the primer. I retained this gun in my possession until approximately 3:15 Friday, November 22nd, when in the presence of Officers Carroll and McDonald, I turned the weapon over to Detective Baker of the Homicide and Robbery Bureau. At the time the pistol was released to Baker, McDonald, Carroll, and I had all marked it for ID purposes in the presence of McDonald and Carroll. I marked the side of the casing on all the shells, which were also turned over to Detective Baker at that time. Respectfully submitted, Gerald Hill, Sergeant of Police, Personnel Bureau. So, Gerald Hill was one of Westbrook's sergeants in the Personnel Bureau. Joe?
Interesting. I thought it was the guy Stringer, but he could have, of course, had more than one. But
that's the way Jerry Hill signed the letter to Curry. So
and was that early December?
December 5th.
December 5th. Okay.
Yeah.
And Rob, before you continue, we have to thank Mr. Gary Peters, who gave us a $50 super chat.
Holy Hannah.
Whoa.
Gary Peters, man. Yeah. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it. And I don't like to interrupt you, but that was worth the interruption.
Yeah, you can interrupt me anytime you want. $50.
I'm going to clip that. Oh, I'm going to clip that before the $50 thing. Thank you, Gary.
Let's see. So when Gerald Hill first went to the school book depository, this is interesting, Joe. You like this. He got permission, from Captain Westbrook to go to the scene of the school book depository and bring along with him officers Joe Field, Jim Valentine, and a reporter from the Dallas Morning News, Jim E. Ewell.
That's a guy I told you that had jumped in the car with Westbrook on the way to the Tippett thing. And
yes, I'm just reading it to you the way it is
okay.
here.
Okay, so he's still around.
Who wrote this? But
okay.
They obviously made a mistake. When he arrived at the scene, he stated he caught up to Captain Fritz and a variety of other officers entering the building. He and two sheriff's deputies, Boone and Mooney, worked from the top down, while Fritz and his men worked from the bottom up, searching for evidence. After checking the 7th floor and finding not a damn thing, Hill said that someone shouted, "Here it is!" Upon finding a stack of boxes by a window, he went on to find 3 spent shells on the floor. This finding prompted him to go to the window and shout for someone from the crime lab, resulting in the photo of the top right of the shells, blah, blah. By the time he made it down street level, someone from the crime lab had arrived, and Hill would soon be on his way to the next scene at the Tippett murder scene. So I believe Hill was traveling in Valentine's car. I believe it was suspected. And there's lots of questions whether or not this could be the car that showed up in front of Oswald's rooming house and did the old tit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the numbers don't match from that car to Valentine's, and I don't think they're even close, to be honest with you, even for a blind old lady. But
no, I came across Valentine. I think it was it 207, the car number. But Valentine is in the equation, and I think he
yes.
might have been with Westbrook when he first heard about the shooting of JFK. So sorry, sir.
Oh, you're fine. So let's see. All right, let's get to the juicy bits. Enough is enough. I've teased you
juicy
for
bits?
I do have some juicy bits.
You always save them for the end.
Is there any other way, sir?
No.
Okay. Okay, let's do this juicy bit first. I got two juicy bits. But this one is nice.
I'm refraining from making a really bad joke.
Yes. Okay. Now, let's fast forward to the HSCA for a minute and talk about Gerald Hill testimony to the HSCA. Okay?
Okay.
Now, I came across a very interesting document from the House Select Committee on Assassinations. And this is a resolution for immunity. Now, this is what I'm talking about when they were some people that they interviewed, like Lauren Hall,
right,
the HSCA, were given immunized testimony, which means that anything they say cannot be used against them in a court of law. They cannot incriminate themselves. Okay.
Right.
Thus denying them the right to use the Fifth Amendment to protect them. Okay. So this is basically, they had to say the truth.
Right.
But no matter what they said, they could never get in trouble for it. So this is what immunized testimony is.
So is this a motion to grant that?
Yes. At least 8 members must vote in the affirmative. So apparently they went by individuals and they had to vote, and at least 8 members must vote in the affirmative for that person to receive a resolution for immunity for their testimony. Okay. So it says, resolved that counsel on the staff is authorized to apply to a court for an order conferring immunity upon compelling testimony in accordance with 18 USC SC 6002 et from the individuals. Number 1 is Carl Mather, who was J.D. Tippett's buddy, worked at Collins Radio, and his car was seen with an apparent Oswald double driving it not very long after the assassination occurred, which is always crazy. And Edward K. Moss.
Well, was he the one on guard duty or
no?
No, but it was the Thunderbird that, like, it was registered, that car, back to him. He was a friend of Tippett, and I believe Westbrook.
Red Ford Falcon. Yeah.
Oh, Ford Falcon. Thank you, sir. Thunderbird
Yeah, I think he lived down the street from Tippett, was very, very good friends with Tippett and his family.
Well, he was the one that actually consoled Marie Tippett after she got word that he was killed. He stayed there. Yeah. His wife went there. His wife left. He stayed there to console, which is kind of backwards in 1963 terms, right? You'd expect the wife to stay there and console.
Honey, you just go home. I got this. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So on this list, of course, are Carl Amos Mather, Edward Moss, who I have no idea who in the hell that is. Maybe the chat does.
Me either. Oh.
Judith Campbell Exner, who was getting stoiked by Sam Giancana and John F. Kennedy at the same time, and probably a spy for Germany. So there's that. Okay. So the reason that they wanted to give Carl Mather immunity is this. So on all these lists and all these immunity forms, they have to do a name or an AKA, also known as date and place of birth, social security number, FBI ID number, if any, scheduled or anticipated date of hearing, reason why, and likelihood the witness is apt to claim the Fifth Amendment. Okay, so this is what they're worried about. For Carl Mather, it was a close friend of J.D. Tippit. A car with the license plate registered to Mather was reportedly near the scene of the shooting and engaged in allegedly suspicious activity. And a man who very much resembled Lee Harvey Oswald was driving it. Mather has denied to the FBI and the committee investigator that his car was anywhere near the scene, despite his license plate number being reported as such. So that's why they wanted to give him immunity, hoping that he would tell the truth, but he didn't. Next up,
And you don't give someone immunity if you don't think there's a benefit to it, right?
right?
Like you're not just giving some random scafuza immunity, right? Some witness.
Yeah, these are very interesting people with some interesting things. If they would actually tell the truth, like,
right.
All right, dude, why is your car here with some guy that looks like Lee Harvey Oswald driving it at this time on this day? Do you have a good answer for that?
Yeah.
And they would want him to tell the truth.
Right. Or at least, give him the opportunity to, even if he doesn't, right?
Yeah.
It's a shot in the dark.
Next up, Judith Campbell Exner. The reason that they want to give her immunity is this. Involved with Sam Giancana and President Kennedy, may have been intended to be used by the mob as a method to blackmail Kennedy administration or obtain information about it. That means AKA spying. Mm-hmm. That's why they wanted to give her immunity. Next up is Marina Oswald Porter, wife of Lee Harvey Oswald. She has testified at least at least twice in the past. And there are many inconsistencies between the numerous stories she has told. She may claim the fifth if pressed very hard to explain her inconsistencies in her stories. Next up, Howard Brennan. Now, we all know that he told the HSC to basically go fuck themselves, and that he was not coming to Washington. So this is why they wanted to give him the fifth. He has already made it clear in phone conversations that he will cooperate with the House Committee on Assassinations only when he wants to do so, and not when we ask. Okay, whatever.
I respect that, Mr. Brennan. I respect that.
Next up is Patrick Dean, the guy who was in charge of the basement security during the shooting of Lee Harvey Oswald. The reason they wanted to give him immunity is because he was in charge of security in the basement of the Dallas Police Department during the transfer of Lee Harvey Oswald. He had known Jack Ruby for 13 years prior to 1963, and he was a uniformed sergeant in the downtown area of Dallas. Dean's possible involvement in an intentional or negligent action which led to the shooting of Lee Harvey Oswald might make him invoke the Fifth Amendment. Quite possible, right?
Yeah, and they're saying whether it's intentional he let him in or whether it was by complete negligence of not doing your job or letting Jack go because you knew him. I think that's what they're saying, right? Either or. And but they're offering him immunity either way.
Yep. Next up, Gene West, a.k.a. Gene Ouse. The reason they want to give her the Fifth Amendment is West was a friend of Lawrence Myers and was with him in Dallas the weekend of the assassination. When they saw Jack Ruby twice on 11/21/63, and she had also received a phone call from David Ferry a month prior to the assassination.
Whoa, what's her name again?
Jean Ace.
I've never heard of her before, to be honest.
Her meetings with Jack Ruby could have been part of general or specific discussions concerning the need to kill Lee Harvey Oswald. Thus, she may be reluctant to discuss any peripheral criminal involvement or knowledge for fear it might incriminate her more deeply. basically she was a mob associate in Chicago, but she was visiting Dallas that weekend with Lawrence Myers. Who was a known Ruby associate from Chicago. All right. Next up, we have Karen Carlin. Well, the reason they wanted to give her immunity is she was a dancer at the Carousel in 1963, and she called Jack Ruby for a salary advance, resulting in money order being sent to her just before Lee Harvey Oswald got shot. She also called Ruby the night before the shooting of Lee Harvey Oswald and secured $5 from a garage attendant who made a time-stamped receipt. It is possible that Karen Bennett's action was geared to provide Ruby with a non-premeditation defense, or was even more sinister. In either event, it is likely that she would have taken the Fifth Amendment if her involvement indicated that she was a principal or an accessory. Next up, Janet Conforto, right? They wanted to give her immunity. A dancer at the Carousel in 63. Fired.
And you see a pattern here, guys? You're starting to see a pattern, of who they're offering immunity to.
Yeah. Dancer at the Carousel Club in 63, fired by Jack Ruby after a dispute over her act. Possible firsthand knowledge of criminal activity of Ruby or Ruby associates may cause her to be reluctant to testify openly about her previous silence about such knowledge. In addition, she may have been in prostitution or narcotics or gambling activities, which might make her invoke the Fifth. But we want to know.
Or all of the above.
Jada, you cannot show your butthole in this club anymore. You're fired.
And if you do, you'll get immunity.
Yes. Next up, this is an interesting one, Joe. Immunity for Harry Olson.
Oh.
Harry Olson was a member of the Dallas Police Department who subsequently married an employee of Jack Ruby's. Olson would visit Ruby's club frequently, and on late November 22nd, the night, Olson had a 2 or 3 hour conversation in a car with Jack Ruby. It is possible that Olson's conversation with Ruby could be construed as having encouraged Ruby to kill Oswald, which may be of such a nature to inspire him to invoke the Fifth Amendment. Olson was allegedly guarding an estate very near the Tippit murder scene as well.
Yeah, that was him, not Matherson. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So, hold on. You may be saying to yourself, Rob, why are you going through all this horse shit? Because the last one that they gave immunity to was Gerald Hill.
I wasn't saying that. I think this is a fascinating list.
Oh, shit. What's up, Ed? Ed Ledoux is in the house.
Oh, Mr. Ed.
What's up, buddy? We got to get your ass back on the show. Holler at your boy. The people love you, and so do we. So reach out to me, man. We got to get you back on the show, brother. Big Bad Josh Olson was the only reason or the only person fired in this whole god-awful assassination. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, did he go to California after that with was it Kathy Kay?
Yeah, I believe William Turner from Ramparts tracked him down in California and interviewed him like in 1967 for the Garrison investigation. We might have to do a show on him in the future, Joe. So the reason they gave Gerald Hill immunity for his testimony.
Scott with a great comment. Jada was showing the right top, but the wrong oh.
And there, folks, is your comment of the night.
Yes.
Thank you, Scott.
Scott, you are the man. It was a great hang out with you at Lancer. And thank you for that epic comment.
Yes. So, again, the reason they were trying to give Gerald Hill immunity, that he was employed by the Dallas police in 1963. He was present during the arrest of Lee Harvey Oswald. He also knew Jack Ruby and would frequent the Carousel Club. Hill's possible involvement in or knowledge of payoffs to the Dallas Police Department or the providing of misinformation to authorities investigating the assassination or the shooting of Lee Harvey Oswald make it possible that he would invoke the Fifth Amendment. So what are these alleged payoffs to the DPD? Was Ruby paying off the Dallas police to leave him the fuck alone? Possibly.
Very possible.
Maybe that's why he had a big old wad in his pocket that day when he showed up at the Dallas police basement. Maybe he was trying to pay somebody off. Said, oh, shit, there's Oswald. I can kill him now. Shit. Who knows?
And like we talked about, Rob, I mean, it really was. I don't know how you could view that as none other than a suicide mission, right? Even if you were friendly with every DPD person, there were live TV cameras. I mean, you can't imagine that you'd think you get away with something like that. Even if you thought, like the Lone Nut narrative says, that people would consider you a hero for preventing Jackie from coming back and testifying at the trial, whatever, right? Like it doesn't make sense. So why he would leave, especially he was in financial trouble. Why are you leaving all this money in your car unless, just like you said, it was possible payoff?
Yes. All right. And the last thing I got, Joe, because I'm not too sure what happened with Gerald Hill after this. Okay. Because much like Westbrook, I believe he left the Dallas police before 1968. So sometime in 67, 66, 67, he left the Dallas police. Same time frame as Westbrook. Okay. But he didn't go to Vietnam and hang out with David Morales. Okay.
Not that type of payoff.
He stayed much closer to home. So this comes from a memorandum for the record. Okay. This is the Garrison document from Stephen Jaffe, investigator concerning Gerald Hill. In my recent interview in Chicago with Richard Sprague, where he recounted to me details of his Dallas investigation in January of 68, Mr. Sprague told me that the group which is investigating the assassination in Dallas, that means the part of Garrison's team that is investigating the assassination in Dallas, have told him they have solid proof that policeman Gerald Hill was involved directly in the assassination and the related cover-up of the facts about the assassination itself. Sprague told me that they are aware that Gerald Hill was at the site of the assassination in Dealey Plaza, and also later at the site of the shooting of Officer Tippit, and also the arrest of Lee Harvey Oswald at the Texas Theater. After Oswald's arrest, Gerald Hill was supposed to have ridden in the police car with Oswald down to the police station, which he allegedly did. Hill is no longer with the Dallas police force. He is now in charge as the night man, in charge of guarding the film library at TV station KRLD in Dallas. Sprague also knew of various places where Gerald Hill visited inquiring about film footage of the assassination. So Hill was going around Dallas and collecting films concerning the assassination. And he was also employed as the night watchman at KRLD of the TV film library that they had. Okay. Television cameraman Sandy Sanderson had taken film footage for KRLD in 16 millimeter, including an arrest and also including film of the finding of the rifle. Sprague has viewed the film by Sanderson and said that these important scenes have been omitted and no longer exist for the public viewing. Sprague feels that since Hill has had such an extensive control over various footage, that he might be instrumental in omitting various sections of footage from several different people's films. thus him having access to so many at the TV film library at KRLD. The group in Dallas has also concurred in Sprague's feeling on this. So, how's that for the last juicy bit of the evening? So instead of hanging out with Morales in Vietnam, this cat is kicked back at night guarding the TV film library, going through various films of the assassination and editing them or making them disappear or collecting them or whatever. Isn't that crazy? Gerald Hill.
I had no idea about that. That is crazy, and it makes you think about like the other part-time jobs that a lot of these policemen had, right? Which is like guarding this or that, or being a security guard at whatever club or whatever. But for him to leave the DPD just to do that, it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think about that for sure, but he is definitely in my top 3 sus list for sure, with Westbrook for sure in the DPD.
Absolutely. So that's all we got for you. Sorry we went a little long, but that's what we do here. We got to give you the juicy bits. We got to give you the meat of the sandwich. Sometimes it's a very thin sandwich, which is more bread than meat, but tonight it was more meat than bread, with a lot of condiments thrown on top, maybe a little cheese, a little mayonnaise, a little mustard, a little pickles, little tomatoes, little onions, little lettuce. You know what I'm saying? It was a fat ass sandwich, Joe. That one.
I
For
respect it.
Christmas. And like I said, I purposely did not monetize this video just for Christmas's sake, so you can watch us without any ads. So if you're going to see ads, they ain't from us. They're from YouTube.
Oh. Thank you, sir.
So Merry Christmas to all, and we shall see you before Christmas, though, again at some point next week. We'll let you know. We will discuss after the show.
Yeah. We'll do something for members only, and we will be back next week on the 27th, 2 days after Christmas, for another great, informative, entertaining podcast from your boys at the Lone Gunman.
As per the always. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, our best from ours to yours. Have a great holiday. But at least we'll chat before that, I promise.
Yep.
So with that being said, Joe, go get your goddamn dog.
I gotta wait till the music starts first.
She should know to come running when she hears this music start playing by now.
I gotta train her like that. She has been really good and just sleeps on the chair. So, and whenever I get her, she's
up. Ruby, come on, girl.
She did. She's got up.
Come on, Ruby. It's dancing time.
The greatest lies are told in the name of truth. The greatest crimes are committed in the name of justice. The quotation is Jim Garrison's. It could be used for him or against him in this strange case. Good night.
And there's the awkward ending.
Yes. Thank you as everyone, guys. Thank you as always, guys. And if we don't talk to you